Good evening, members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen. We continue with this Central Committee meeting of Parliament for today, Central Committee meeting number 6, as we continue with this meeting today, October the 16th. The meeting regards the draft national ordinance for the amended budget 2024 and started out with a presentation by the Minister of Finance on this draft national ordinance as presented by the government of St. Martin. Ministers have been appearing since then to respond to questions asked by members of Parliament, and the last minister to appear tonight to respond to questions posed by members of Parliament is the Minister of Tiat, Minister Grisha Marten. Minister Heiliger, you have the floor to respond to the questions by members of Parliament. Welcome to you and your support staff, Minister.
A pleasant good morning. Good evening, Madam Chair Lady. Good evening to the Secretary General. Good evening to the honorable members of Parliament, to the one person in the tribune, and to those still listening and viewing online and on the radio. I would like to start one time. I have 44 questions. Please bear with me. And I'll start with MP La Cruz questions. It started with him clarifying a question through an explanation of cost cuts, what difficulties they brought to the ministry, for instance, the marketing and which market was cut and the effect on our product. Cutting the marketing budget has impacted St. Martin's ability to attract tourists and maintain brand visibility. With reduced exposures, it's harder to reach new audience and retain interest. We were forced to reshift our focus to address this by focusing more on digital marketing, using social media, SEO, and influencers to reach audiences cost effectively, prioritizing key markets, so concentrating on high return areas like the US, Canada, and the MICE market, community partnership, collaborating with local businesses to extend reach and share costs, and using data, so focusing on past successful campaigns to maximize returns with limited funds. Then the MP La Cruz request also asked regarding the sports tourism reduced by 45,000 guilders, HR reduced by 90,000 guilders. What effects this have on the ministry? The activities affected by the cuts are as follows. The Caribbean Multi-Hall Challenge has been affected, and also the Heineken Regatta has been affected by lower fees being paid. Both events are key to stimulating our economy and on an annual basis and continue to bring return visitors to our shores, but we still supported them, but a little less. Then MP La Cruz asked if it was a choice by the minister or whether it was finance that cut the budget. Budget cuts, MP La Cruz, in general, are proposed by the Ministry of Finance in response to a broader financial situation. My ministry will work within its parameters to ensure that our key priorities are still addressed adequately, like I just did earlier. So another example MP La Cruz gave regarding the staff bureau courses and training reduced by 50,000. These are questions that I keep asking why. MP La Cruz stated that he keeps asking why, because if you want to get more income, but you're cutting, that I want to understand where we are cutting and how we're going to make more money if we're still cutting these important parts of the budget. The budget allocated was reserved for training and development of the personnel within the Ministry of Tiat. By mid-year, budget cuts were required and no training was requested. Given that there was available room for adjustments in the training budget, the Ministry of Finance made cuts to this budget post. So MP La Cruz asks, so how can we make more money if we have all these cuts? Is the minister open to an idea of sitting with members of Parliament and all ministers to brainstorm and exchange ideas to generate revenues? Yes, MP La Cruz, I am always open to collaborating with anyone who is dedicated to the progress of our island and its people. While Budget 2024 required major cuts, I believe that creative solutions and innovative thinking can help us overcome these challenges. And I'm open to any suggestions you may have. Then I move over to questions by MP Arian. And the first two questions was based on the funds of rentalast, and they both were answered earlier by Minister of Finance. Then he went over to questions regarding the lottery booths. What is the legal basis and are they legal? So the legal basis for the lottery booths can be found in Article 3, Paragraph 1, under A of the Lottery Ordinance, in Article 2, Paragraph 1, under C of the National Decree containing general measures for the implementations of the articles. Article 3, the third and fifth paragraphs, and fourth and second of the Lottery Ordinance. This is in writing, so hopefully it will be clear for the the MP. The issued lottery license states that the lottery license holder must send to the minister an overview of the locations from which the lottery tickets are sold. In addition, each new point of sale must be reported to the Finance Department and the Department of Economic Affairs. What licenses do they have to operate? Asked the MP Arian. They operate under the lottery license of the license holder, so the lottery company, for which they sell tickets and do not have their own business license from the Ministry of Tiat, nor are they operating as an independent legal entity, BV or NV. So in addition, the national decree that is currently at His Excellency the Governor will have the regulations clearly defined for lottery license holder, booths, and point of sales. So in this national decree, the following matters will be regulated once it's passed. The lottery license holder needs to ask the minister for permission to have a sale point. The lottery license holder have to pay a monthly vergunningsrecht for each sales point, and each sales point has to comply with the legal requirements and withdrawal of permission. This will also ensure fees are paid monthly, by extension assist with a compliance of taxes. And once the decision process is completed, all required information will be made available via publication. The lottery license holders will be granted the time to prepare the new rules for their licenses. So does the person that is in the booth pay SZV taxes? Asked MP Arian. This information should be provided by SZB respectively, the Tax Inspectorate Receiver's Office. Are they operating on an Eenmanszaak or a BV? Asked MP Arian. The lottery booths currently operate under the licenses granted to the license holder. The license holder is either an NV or a BV, and as stated earlier, this matter will be further addressed once a decision on the national decree is made by His Excellency. What gives the legal right to execute this task? The legal basis, again, can be found under the Article 3 that I mentioned earlier. How many sales points do they have? The last inventory conducted indicated at 350 sales points as of 2023. Current state of the lottery booth. Are they legal now? Every lottery, do they pay taxes and fees? They currently operate legally based on the issued permits that I mentioned earlier. With regards to taxes and fees, please again refer to my previous answer to requested by the Inspectorate of Taxes. How many sales points do they have? The last inventory was approximately 350 sales points of 2023, and an updated count will be done soon. What is the legal basis of the sales point? As mentioned before, the legal basis also falls under the exact same legislation that I mentioned earlier in the former questions. Inspection. The last minister was working on revenue generation schemes and dated inspection policies the outdated inspection policy is one of them. Is this a plan to continue in terms of inspection department in regards to vehicles? Yes. The interest expense of the collective sector, what is our limit? And if we take on this loan, will it exceed our limit? This answer was provided, I think, earlier by Minister of Finance. And if not, I'll maybe the MP could let me know, but I think the Minister of Finance already responded to this. Costs cut, but projections were cut. So costs wasn't cut, but projections were cut. If they were revenue generation items that this current government removed, like WENER, the tax levy, the inspection, what revenue generation items since May of this year was presented by this government? 1% excise tax from gas, was removed. Why? The final part was to have an entity attached. The legislation was done by TIAT, who worked alongside ECI's ECYS. Cuts will come with revenue generation being removed, and what was it replaced with? Is the government not working on policies for revenue generation, and is there no policy from TIAT? The answer to that question by MP Arian, the Ministry of TIAT does have policies that can be revenue generations, like the one we just mentioned before, the LBHAM, that will be going into effect via the national decree for lotteries, lottery booths, etc., before the end of Q4. However, to be realistic, we cannot only account for said revenues in 2025. We're working closely within the various ministries to do the necessary in preparations for Budget 2025, where more details can be shared on what these policies and revenue-generating items will be. For the record, the legislation in regard to the 1% excise tax was not drafted by Minister of TIAT. The former Minister of ECYS was spearheading this project with the department and SOAB. The Ministry of ECYS can further elucidate on their progress to date. Next, I move on to questions posed by MP York. Series of lottery booths, questions asked to the Minister of Finance. They'll pose them, he will be posing them to me now, and it relates to the answers provided, more piggybacking from MP Arian. If I am a booth holder, I have 10 booths versus someone with 20, but we are paying the same taxes. In regard to the revenue generation ideas, what is the plan in regards to legislation to tackle such issues in regards to branch licenses versus operational licenses? Again, please refer to the answer regarding to the pending national decree. I think I answered that question there. Then MP York asked about online gambling. Major pet peeve is on the regulations of the bank, where you get asked all these questions based on being on the gray list by FIU due to lack of legislation. What are the plans in regard to the legislation when it comes to this? So the CBCS, the central bank, regulates the banking sector, while the Financial Intellectual Unit, the FIU, oversees designated non-financial businesses, including gambling providers. Compliance with their respective laws and international best practices is required. Questions about these legislation agendas should be directed to the relevant regulators or the Ministers of Finance and Justice. As for TIAT, existing online gambling regulations are being updated with new rules and customer protection and addiction prevention added to meet the international standards. This will be done under the gambling the H2 project from Country Package, which is the gaming board. Yes, the gaming board. Thank you, MP La Cruz. Next question by MP York. Did the airport commence the repayment of the loan granted by government in 2018 and 2019? If not, why? And if yes, please indicate how much has been recouped to date. According to the responses received by PGIA, the loan payments, debt service to government, will start in Q1 of 2027. To date, no payments have been made for the World Bank or the government of St. Martin's loan. Debt service payments will be made twice a year. Then MP York asks, the throughput fees. Please elaborate explanation in Parliament regarding the fuel clause. What is the cost comprised of, and how is it calculated? The fees, how is it calculated? The fees, what goes to the government from the cost, and what percentage goes to government and other entities? A pie chart of the fees, and if it goes to entities, who are these entities? So just general, the throughput fee. So the throughput fee was established in 2007 by the Island Council, being 4 Gilda cents, and was approved and increased in 2012 by the then Minister of TIAT to 4.4 Gilda cents for GB and airline fueling at PGIA and